Hi, I'm Phil Brandt. I am President and CEO of AAIM Employers Association, and welcome to This Week at Work.
This Week at Work is the only show about the workplace that offers you front row seats and a microphone, featuring experts in human resources and employment law to bring you practical, timely, and accurate insights so you can more effectively lead your organization. It's Thursday, August 31st, episode 246. Today, we bring the show to you from the 45th Annual HR Florida Conference and Expo. We seize this opportunity to have Rita Manny and Christine Crews join to dive into what's trending on their HR hotline. They'll discuss the much anticipated AAIM benchmark surveys and share the member excitement surrounding AAIM's ongoing live online training sessions. And as always, we encourage you to get involved in the show, so speak up, take the poll, and ask your questions now. All this and more on This Week at Work.
Hi, welcome back, everyone. I am happy to be coming from Rosen Shingle Creek in Orlando, Florida, at the country's largest state SHRM conference at Go SHRM in Orlando, Florida. We are having a great time down here. We've got a chance to see and visit with so many of our members from the Florida area. Roughly around 1,800 people at this conference, if you didn't attend it, and it has been fantastic. We've had a great time over the last several days visiting with our members and meeting potentially new members and actually getting to work with some of the finest HR people that the state of Florida has to offer. So for those that you came by and visited our booth, thank you. And I'm happy that you're joining us today, maybe for your first time. Bert Garland, our lawyer on the clock expert, is not going to be joining us today. We're going to dedicate this time to some of the AAIM services that are available to our members and non-members if you're interested alike, but we're really going to focus on our member services. And to do that, I have two very special guests with me. First is Rita Manny. She is our president of Florida, and she has been running the association EAF over the last 40 years and has done a fantastic job. Good morning, Rita. How are you doing today?
Good morning. I'm doing great. It's exciting to be together.
Keeping it all together. I tell you what, I'm looking forward. Rita and I have a very busy day visiting some business partners and some of our members throughout the Orlando area. So we're up early and ready to go. And we also have a very important member of our staff, and her name is Christine Crews. She is a fantastic resource and maybe one of the best kept secrets from all of our membership because she's under such high demand. But if you're in Florida, you definitely know Chris. And she has been serving our members in Florida for the last 30 years. And sometimes I would say she's even better than a lawyer. And I'm just going to say that quietly because I know Bert might be listening. But what makes Chris so valuable is the fact that she can bring the real life practical experience to her solutions. Chris, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning. Thank you for having me on the program. I'm looking forward to working with all of you and getting to know you.
Absolutely. All right. First, before we go on, let's get to the ever important popular poll questions for today. The first question we have for you is, do you participate in AAIM benchmark surveys? Please comment why or why not. Love to see your comments and why you do that. And the second poll question that we have for you is, what do you hope to learn from benchmark surveys? And for those of you who participate in those, we'd love to know what it is that you are looking to gain from those, because they're a very important part of what we do here at AAIM for you to help you run your business more effectively. So Chris, good morning. I'd like to just ask you if you could comment on the surveys that are coming up for us, please.
Yes, thank you. We have two surveys coming up in September. The first, which will be launched the first week in September, is our National Business Trend Survey. This is a very important survey for our HR team as well as the executives in our organizations. This particular survey focuses on such items as business outlook, business investment plans, staffing plans, pay strategies, business improvement measures. So For the HR team, this is going to help you be a rock star to your executives. Please pass this along to your executive team so that we can get input from them as to what our forecast, our business forecast is for 2024. The second survey is our national policies and benefits surveys. As HR professionals, we're always looking for information that will help set our organizations apart. We'd like to be able to measure ourselves against our competitors. Are we paying fair benefits? What are other organizations offering in terms of PTO? What are their dress codes like? What are their leave of absence policies like? What kind of incentive systems do they have? This survey will allow you to benchmark yourself against national organizations across the nation.
Yeah.
This particular survey will launch the second week in September, and we hope you will participate. As with all AAIM surveys, if you participate, the results of these surveys will be provided to you at no charge. If you are unable to participate, you will be able to purchase the results once they're published.
Yeah, but we don't want you to have to pay for them. We want you to participate. When I was practicing HR, I did participate in these surveys, and I can tell you the benefit survey was one of the more meaningful surveys for me individually, because I needed to understand what were other businesses doing for things other than base compensation. I had lots of ways to get base compensation, and we have compensation surveys at AIM that help cover that. But what's harder to figure out is, what are they doing with their 401k match? How many sick days do they have? Do they do PTO or vacation? It was these types of things that were helping me configure our fringe benefits and our offerings to help be more competitive to attract and retain. And when you can find out exactly what the local community is doing and what their trends are across the country, it just gives you that much more of an insight, and it gives you the power to go in and work with your leaders to say, I think this is where we should go, and here is why we should go there. And that's the type of data that then becomes useful in the sense of making your case as a business leader versus going, well, I feel like we should do it like this, or I think it would be better if we did that. You want to be able to support it with data, and that's the best way to do it. So if you're interested in being involved in supporting the surveys and getting them back in return for free, please reach out to Chris, myself, or anyone else. We'll make sure you get it. All of our members get a link. We want to make sure you get a chance to be involved. If you're not an AIM member, well, this is a very, very good reason to become one. And we will be happy to help facilitate these with you and get you going and get you off to the right foot. All right, Chris, so let's talk a little bit about what it is you have spent the last 30 years doing. And I'm going to ask you to focus in. I know you've done a lot, but let's focus in on the hotline services. First, just tell us in general, what is the hotline? We refer to it like everyone knows what it is, but what is the hotline?
The hotline is a resource for our members to call in whenever they have questions related to the world of HR. It could be anything from needing a sample policy. It could be asking for clarification on a particular employment law. It could be simply talking through a specific situation that they're dealing with in their own organizations, and they need a neutral HR professional that's going to help guide them and provide them with objective information so that they can manage whatever situation that they are dealing with.
All right, that's great information. So let's take that and break it down into some examples, right? So if I'm listening, I'm a first-time listener to the program, I'm hearing hotline. I think SHRM's got a hotline. Other firms and organizations may have a hotline. But what is it that our members lean on you and our hotline and member services teams to help them with? Give me some examples of what that might be.
let me give you those examples because I think what sets us apart is we're going to take the time to listen to you, and we are not going to give you cookie cutter answers.
Okay.
So for example, one of our areas that we talked about is compliance. So recently I fielded a question from one of our members asking me if FMLA would apply to an individual who is caring for an adult child. So I probed a little bit. It
Isn't
turns
the
out
answer yes to that?
it depends.
Okay.
That's a good
Oh, no. See,
question.
now you just did what my
Your
friend Bert
question.
Garland, the lawyer, does. See,
Yes.
he always tells me, oh, it depends, Phil. You just
Yes.
can't say yes or no.
That's right.
Right.
Welcome to the world of HR.
All right. Walk me through it.
So in general, in the world of FMLA could apply to care for an adult child if they have a serious health condition that renders them incapable of self-care. In this particular situation, our employer's employee was the father of an Orlando police officer who had been shot in the line of duty. At that time, we did not know the extent of this person's injuries and whether or not this individual may qualify for FMLA to care for his adult child. However, as we step back and remember that we are human resources, regardless of whether or not FMLA applied, in that circumstance where you have this police officer's injuries plastered all over the news, I'm not going to be that HR person who's going to tell our employer to deny that leave of absence.
All right. So when you say you're not going to tell them, but their first question is about FMLA. So I'm assuming
Yes,
in
it
an approach
is.
like that, you're giving them the legal response or the limitations of FMLA or the expansive benefits of FMLA. But what I think I'm hearing you say is then you're guiding them on some other considerations to help them make a decision that works for them.
That's
versus
correct.
saying, well, here's your answer, good luck and go. You're working with them to consider not just the compliance of FMLA, but the public image, and
Absolutely.
the employee backlash that could occur, the community backlash that could occur. And then you're talking to them about those other factors to make sure they're considering it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're going to look at employee morale, the community. And in this case, the company really didn't have a problem granting the time off. They just wanted to confirm whether or not it could be FMLA. And the short answer was, it could be, but we have to listen to our members to find out what they're actually dealing with in that space and what's really happening behind the scenes.
Gotcha.
And that, I think, is what sets us apart, because a SHRM is not going to do that. Many other HR consulting firms are not going to take that time to listen to what is actually happening in their organizations. And by the way, we keep talking about HR. It could be an HR team of one. It could be an HR professional who has a fully staffed HR department.
Mm-hmm.
But perhaps they have a situation they need to discuss that is sensitive in nature, maybe about one of their team members, and they need some objective third party to discuss that with outside of their own organization. Additionally, we have CEOs, CFOs, purchasing managers, office managers, and many other professionals who have been tasked with providing HR support to the organization, even though that's not their primary role. And they need help. They need resources. They need to know where they can find help. And we're not going to make them look for that information on their own. If there's research to be done, we're going to do that, and we're going to deliver that policy or that information or whatever they're looking for. If we don't happen to know that information, we're going to find that information and provide that to them.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point of differentiation there. You're not looking for a cookie cutter response. There's times when that's absolutely appropriate, right? We want to say, look, here's the cookie cutter response. The answer is yes, and here's why. The answer is no, and here's why. But having practiced HR for as long as I have in the industry, I do understand. And while we make fun of it on this program, on the it ends, I do understand that so much of what we do comes down to, I need more information. It may depend. What do you want to do as an organization is also an important factor, right? It's like, I don't want to do something. How do I do that? And it's like, how do you legally maneuver in and out of the labor laws that exist to do what the organization is trying to achieve legally, responsibly, socially responsible as well. And sometimes that does take that third-party objective discussion. Now, tell me this, Chris, how do most questions for the hotline come in to you? I'm going to take a guess that they come in first by email more frequently than any other method.
I would agree with you on that. It's a combination, phone calls, emails, whatever is the preference for our employers.
Okay, very good. And we like to say we want to meet them right where they're at. So
absolutely.
So I know when I was practicing HR, I used to use the hotline at AIM all the time. And I had large HR staffs. I mean, there was time I had a staff, hundreds of HR professionals around the world. And we had plenty of resources, legal resources, both internal and external. But I still used the hotline at AIM to help with like researching certain scenarios. Any examples that you can think of where you've had questions that then require you and the staff to go in and dig in and do a little research before you provide the answer?
Oh, absolutely. Well, for example, let's go back to policy. Everybody has a PTO policy or a sick leave policy or the common policies. What about a hot desk policy? Do we even know what a hot desk policy is? Well, no, didn't know what it was till I did research. And I found policies. I put those together in a format that our member could use.
Tell us what a hot desk policy is first.
Oh, hot desk policy. That is something that lives typically in the world of remote employees who are periodically coming into the office and are sharing desks. So there are protocols in place to clean and sanitize those desks, to leave them in an orderly manner for the next person who needs to come into that space to utilize that desk.
Oh, I need a hot dishes policy at my house.
Yes.
I need that with my kids. I need them to be able to just put the dishes in the dishwasher. I think that's what we're talking about here, right? Just clean up after ourselves.
Yep, absolutely. So that's an example. There are other things that we're researching. We may research a particular aspect of the law that we haven't come across before, or that we need to go out and find the specific language to share with our members so that they can share it with their executive team. So, for example, we may want to go out, maybe someone's going through a merger and acquisition, and what do we do with those I-9s? Well, let me go. I know off the top of my head what we need to do, but let me send you what the I-9 handbook says so that you know what your two choices are.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So
great examples. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are some examples. Cute story from yesterday. I get a call from one of our members. Their organization happens to sponsor and hold a number of conferences. And anybody who's visited a trade show or conference, you know, there is a lot of stuff we have to take to those conferences.
As I know.
Boxes and boxes of stuff, right? So it was really amusing to me. I get this call from him, and he says, our president wants to know if we can designate a couple of younger guys in the organization to help some of our largely female older staff load their cars because we've had a couple of workers' comp incidents.
Now, you see, I grew up in the world where my mother would say, you better help those ladies out. But today we're in a different space.
We are. Well, after I stopped laughing, and let me tell you why. First of all, I don't laugh. It's not because of the question. It's because, and I told him this, I said, I'm sorry, I had to laugh because Rita and I, who are ladies of a fabulous age, just helped our coworker load boxes of conference materials into the back of her vehicle.
Excellent. Yes.
So I said, it's so funny that you should call and ask me that. And yes, that can be perceived as sexist. I have seen women in their 50s, 60s who are totally fit. They do CrossFit. And I've seen young men in their 20s who maybe we don't realize may have back issues or something else. Bottom line is, it sounds to me like we need to teach our team how to properly lift, and we need to implement a protocol that if a box is more than 25 pounds or is awkwardly shaped, that's a 2-person lifting job. We're going to teach them to lift with their legs. And we're going to ask people who feel comfortable helping their coworkers load the car to do that, instead of saying, hey, you look like a young fit guy, you come do this.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Yep.
So timing's everything, though. I had to laugh.
Yeah, no, that is a perfect timing question for what you all have gone through as you moved to your new office there in Lake
Yep.
Mary just a couple weeks ago. So fantastic timing for that question, having lived it yourself. But I think the reality is we can't make basic assumptions of capability. But I think
That's right.
come from this world of, I mean, in my mind, I just did this the other day too, helping as it related to loading for conferences. Let me help you, right? Just making a
Right.
gentleman's offer to help someone load some material. And in today's workforce, while it is expected of my mother's manners of her son, it may not be the expected welcome behavior in the workplace, and something to consider. I
That's
think
correct.
that's a great example of talking
That's
through
correct.
things. Chris, I appreciate so much the things that you do for our members, and I know how passionately you care. Nick, if you can share with our member base how do they reach Chris at her number and our other hotline number for our non-Florida members, so they can take advantage of the hotline services that we have. I mean, we field thousands and thousands of questions and requests every single year. And if you have those and you're a member of AAIM, it's all part of your membership, and we want you to take full advantage of it. And what you will get is someone to answer the phone and say hello. And I would always suggest give them a call, talk to them in person, because you will get a better response when they understand what you're really trying to solve versus the email. But I want to switch my attention now to Rita Manny. As I mentioned, Rita is the president of our Florida operations, and she has been the CEO or the president, excuse me, of EAF for the last 30 plus years, almost 40 years. And she is set to retire in September. This is her second time on the program. And one thing she has been doing is spending a lot of time with our member base, helping them understand the new benefits that are available to them. Rita, I would like maybe give some insight to the listeners of what you're hearing as to the most favored benefits that people are starting to lean towards implementing in their business.
Thank you, Phil. Absolutely. Well, I'm hearing so much positive feedback about all the things, the new things, especially that are available for our members in the way of the innovative technology. So we're getting a lot of positive feedback. With that, I'm getting a lot of inquiries and information and positive feedback on the background screening. I'm so excited because now we can do background screening with our own team. This is not something that's outsourced. And so I'm, working with a lot of members to look at us to be able to at least let us have an opportunity, because everything that we do with the background screening and anything that comes above that is reinvested back into more innovation. And that's something we're excited about. So, that's something we want to make sure that everyone is aware of. And it comes with the applicant tracking system, the basic applicant tracking, if you use this for your background screening. And then the other huge area that I want you to talk about a little bit, Phil, is we're so excited about the availability of so many more training offerings, particularly our live online training offerings. So if you could maybe share a little bit about that, I would appreciate it, and our members would love to hear.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And for the 10 years that I've been leading the association here, the background screening, I'll just touch on that with the integration of the applicant tracking, which we've been doing for maybe the last 6 years now. That integrated solution has just been fantastic at helping our members be more efficient. And we know as HR professionals, it's not like we have nothing to do. We have too much to do, and it's too hard to comply. So when we can put these two systems together and help save you time and gain better applicants in today's tight market, that's an absolute must. And it is a free benefit to anyone that uses the background verification business. And that's a huge advantage, right? That's thousands of dollars of savings. You can post on Indeed with no cost. I mean, when you think about, most employers I think almost every employer is paying to post on Indeed. And I'm just using that one board alone and talking about it. And you have to pay to do that. With our basic system, with integration into the background screening technology and the products that we produce all in-house, you get that posting absolutely free. It saves you money. And how often can HR actually go forward and go, we actually saved $600 today with this posting, got applicants, and saved time? That is what I get excited about helping with the HR professionals. But as you were mentioning, the live online training is really something new for us post-COVID. So when COVID took over and we did lots of training. I mean, for an example, last year we've trained and developed over 15,000 people alone. When you think about that, people weren't coming into the office any longer to be trained, and they weren't coming into their workplace to be trained, and they wanted to be trained right here virtually. And we didn't have a solution on that. So we developed our live online training where our trainers have been thrust into development programs to be experts at training online, which was somewhat of a new concept, even though it's strange now to think about why this wasn't more popular prior to COVID. But it is probably how we deliver. The largest percent of our training today is live online. And we've configured some really good solutions for our members to be able to make that part of their everyday organizational and development learning practices. Every employer knows today, for me to compete in attracting and retaining, I have to train employees. The question is, where are you going to get it and how much are you going to spend on it? and how effective will it be with your people? And we've tried to address all three of those solutions in the package that we're offering. And if you're a Florida member and you're new to AAIM now, there are some special offerings for you to try this training out. In fact, any AAIM member that's not taken advantage of it, I'll make that available to you also right now if you've not taken advantage of our training in the past. I want you to try it because we know if you try it, you'll do it again and again and again because it's that good of a solution. So I'm glad to hear our members there in Florida are taken to it. I know over the last couple of days, we had a lot of conversation about it with our members and potential members as well. It's a fantastic resource. Nick, if I can just come back to you for a minute, I want to get back on the hotline numbers as it relates to sharing those for Illinois, or not for Illinois, for Florida, and then for Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana members.
Yes, I have that up on the screen, but I also, we have audio listeners as well too. So let me go ahead and provide that for Florida members, 407-260-6556. That is 407-260-6556. And for Missouri, Illinois, Indiana members, 314-754-0236.
Yeah, absolutely. We give you those numbers because I really do encourage you to call and talk to our hotline specialist. You're going to get a much better service when you do that. Not to say that email doesn't work, but it just is going to make sure they're solving your real problem and they're helping you get to the root of it. All right. Thank you so much, Rita, for joining us. You too, Chris Crews. You are a pleasure to work with. I'm so glad that we're working together. We will be back on air next week at 7:30 Central Time. We will post those survey results on LinkedIn, so go check them out there. And until then, go out and be good to people. Have a great day.
Thank you once again for tuning in to This Week at Work. If you enjoy the show, please share it with your colleagues. Forward our invites. Share the link, aimea.org/thisweekatwork, or follow or subscribe wherever you get your news and entertainment, like LinkedIn, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're everywhere you are. And you can be part of the show. Send your questions and comments anytime to info@thisweek.work. We'll see you next week, 7:30 a.m. Central Time, when we discuss what's happening this week at work.